is CSDX and welcome to this video. And once again, a very special thank you to... Fuck, what was his name? A very special thank you to Faku for making the brand new intro I got for my channel now. Thank you very much. You can check out his channel as well in the description below, as long as I remember to put it in. Or you can also click the card at the end of this video that will feature his channel. Anyway, Sonic Adventure. When the Sega Saturn was released and the graphics capabilities were awesome to look at, Sonic fans salivated over a possible 3D Sonic game. As it turns out, it was in the works, but due to, of all things, illness caught by some of the staff, they were unable to meet the deadline, so instead of just delaying its release from Christmas of 1996 to whatever else date they could have done, they cancelled it, leaving the Sega Saturn as the only major Sega console without an original Sonic platformer. Unless you count the port for Sonic 3D Blast, Sonic Jam the compilation game, and Sonic R. I know I don't. Nevertheless, they did manage to make a 3D Sonic game for the next system, being the Dreamcast, and it was actually praised quite a bit. The game was so popular that it got a re-release on the GameCube, the Xbox 360, the PlayStation 3, and Steam, some of which had its fair share of glitches. Many say the game has aged like Swiss cheese in the desert, but is it still worth your time? Well, we're about to find out. So, let's get the Xbox One controller, because I did the 360 port. Goddamn, this is tangled. And let's take a look at Sonic Adventure DX. Yeah, it's the one with the shinier graphics, whatever. I don't own a Dreamcast! By the way, I won't be directly looking at the plot, and for a valid reason. There's 6 different single-player campaigns in this game. Yes, 6! 7 if you count the secret ending for when you beat all 6 campaigns. Like hell I'm gonna explain every campaign story down to every last friggin' detail. So first thing I want to get across is part of why I personally prefer this entry over the sequel, and that's because of the overworld. It felt so big when it was first released, and getting to explore this area felt awesome for me. And it gave me a sense of actual adventure. You know, like the title fucking advertises. Whereas Sonic Adventure 2 lacks this, and thus the linearity of it becomes so much more obvious and restricting. By the way, I doubt I'm ever going to review Sonic Adventure 2. If anything, I'll probably just end up making a top 5 list as why it frustrates me, because it's way too aggravating a game to bother going through a full review for that. Just trust me on this one. I'll get to that top 5 about it at some point. It's only 5 because, you know, I got 5 reasons and I think they're valid enough. Anyway, Sonic's campaign is the main one, and his story is basically the plot of the entire game, with Sonic trying to stop Dr. Robotnik from fully awakening an all-powerful water god named Chaos. By the way, this game is why he's called Eggman everywhere now.
I am Dr. Robotnik, the greatest scientific genius in the world. Whatever you say, Eggman.
Blatant name-calling and bullying made this shit canon, but it's funnier to see Robotnik embrace it. Not sure how to feel about it though. Over the course of Sonic's campaign, you unlock the other 5 ones, and when all 6 are fully beaten, you unlock the last one. But we'll get to that shortly. The gameplay of Sonic being in 3D it just feels right at home, man. And it's made even better with the homing attack. This was revolutionary back in the day, and I remember the strategy guide for the game saying to, quote, wait until you were in a room with 40 plus enemies, end quote. So I did. They just keep coming, and it's actually kind of funny to witness. Honestly though, maybe it's because my first instance of this game was on the Xbox 360, but playing this with my Xbox One controller just feels right to me. Like, playing it with the PS3 controller was fine, but something about the Xbox One controller just feels better to me. Although there's one thing that I hated having to revisit for this video, and that is the Egg Viper. Holy shit, is this boss a load of ass! You're on a suspended platform, and even with all your rings, you have a chance of getting knocked off the platform, and no matter how close you were, you go back to square fucking one. In other words, thank God I had so many lives stocked up, but fuck whoever thought this boss was a good idea, and knowing how Game Grumps works, I commend Aaron Hansen for sticking to it and beating the boss, even if it took him more tries than it took me in my entire lifetime. Love you, you beautiful boy. As for the rest of the campaigns, I'm gonna quick go over them. Well, some of it will be quick anyway, not going into details for everything. With Tails, he flies, obviously, and his levels are mainly races against Sonic, because why the fuck not? The last level though, however, is a race against Robotnik, because hey, we gotta change something up a little. His main story is also stopping Chaos, but it's mostly that he wants to prove himself, because he feels like he's always in Sonic's shadow and always catching up to him, which does explain why his levels are races against Sonic, although he gets a big handicap with some paths he can take to speed things up. Fucking cheater. Good message though, but still, fucking cheater. Knuckles' story is simple. The Master Emerald has somehow been shattered all over the place after an encounter with Chaos, Angel Island has fallen, and it's up to Knuckles to retrieve the pieces. These levels feel the most fun because of the fact that you gotta explore all over to find the emeralds. Gliding especially feels enjoyable to me, to be honest. Although there's no fixed location for the emeralds as they are all randomized. And I still can't believe it took ousting the guy that made the guide for failing to mention the locations are randomized for Aaron to realize that. To be honest, I'm surprised Kevin just left it in there, but at least they've since apologized for opening the poor guy to tirade on online trolls. But wait, what's that? It was mostly people telling him that he forgot to include that mention? Either way, that's still not okay. Now that we got the familiars out of the way, time for the three they shoehorned in. Amy Rose, just like the next two, plays vastly different from the earlier three, relying on our Pico Pico hammer to attack enemies, as well as doing the big leaps of faith. I personally loved building up speed just to launch myself in the air, although I did notice that they didn't exactly bother to censor her unmentionables. Shit, now I gotta boycott this game for indecency, huh? As for the story, you're basically protecting a bird from an invisible robot named Zero, trying to help it find its family. The levels are a bit stressful though, with Amy constantly trying to avoid Zero and grabbing a balloon of all things to escape Zero. Oddly enough, even after Robotnik gets the emerald in the bird's necklace and has no use for it, Zero still tries to go after them. I don't get it. By the way, this bird clearly isn't like Amy and such, and yet we've got Jet the Hawk and his friends eventually introduced in Sonic Riders, so what exactly are the laws surrounding that anyway? And then there's the absolute worst one of them all. Big the fucking cat. Well, the main story is that Big's pet / best friend Froggy swallowed a piece of chaos, grows a tail, and I guess is mind controlled by chaos? I don't know, it's never actually explained, so Big goes off to get him back. As for the level, you fish. And it is so fucking boring. And aggravating for that matter. Although I saved myself a lot of trouble figuring out this bit that nobody loves, thanks to a thread on Steam from someone named, SC2. Simply put, as soon as Froggy latches onto the fishing hook, which opens up a lot of issues that PETA won't like, you immediately press and hold down on the control stick. Immediately, like I said, actually. Yeah. Not in any other direction. No other button. Just down. And it works every time. And I mean every time. I really wish I knew this beforehand so that Aaron didn't have to suffer that way. As for the final boss, and also the only boss in Big Story, it is the most insultingly easy fight I've ever dealt with. All you do is cast your line at Chaos and boom, that's it. You win. No challenge. No idea why it had Big say something's biting, because it was usually instantaneous for me. Either way, just no. And last but not least is E102, codenamed Gamma. This is one of Robotnik's robots who he employs to catch Froggy, but over time, with the help of Amy and the bird, he eventually becomes self-aware and turns on his master and tries to, save the other models in Beta, Zeta, Epsilon, and Delta. Yeah. Saving them. Whatever helps you sleep at night, you psychopath. And that's even if you do sleep. I know Zaz would approve, though. Anyway, throughout the game, you end up meeting a spirit known as Takal, who was an echidna that was part of a once great civilization that got wiped out to a degree, with said race of echidnas trying to take the Master Emerald for themselves, killing the Chow in the process, and then, after being eliminated by Chaos, would seal herself in the Emerald to essentially keep Chaos calm or something. Jeez, and I thought Sonic Forces was dark!
Why did this have to happen?
Huh. I guess Takal never got the memoir about the white man. Your white supremacy tears are delicious! Anyway, let's go check the 7th campaign, okay? Supersonic? Can it be? However, after all of that, the efforts weren't in vain, as Chaos manages to get all 7 emeralds on his own and becomes perfect Chaos, destroying Station Square in the process. Okay, that legit scared me as a kid when I saw the demo at a local KB toy store. Though, looking back, it kinda reminds me of Gyarados. I mean, regardless. I wonder how it look. Oh my god! Oh my god, that looks so cheesy and bad! Uh-oh. You know, you'd think I'd make that a running gag for this. And with the help of Tikal, Sonic's friends, the thousands of people cheering for him that somehow aren't fucking dead from drowning, and the Chaos Emeralds, Super Sonic in 3D is realized. And it is fucking awesome. The song that goes with this makes this a perfect final setting for the game. Just gets you so pumped up! Anyway, Chaos is finally defeated, reverting to his least powerful form, and upon seeing the Chao happy, manages to fully calm down, as he, the Chaos, and Tikal exit this world for the next. Or so I think. Sonic then sees Robotnik leave and chases after him. Credits, appearing for the 7th unskippable time, roll. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is Sonic Adventure DX. It's definitely aged, but is still a lot of fun, really. Like I said, the game has clearly aged poorly since release. It's definitely cheesy, quite a ton of stuff that I never mentioned or brought up, but aside from that last bit, I feel like all that's part of the charm of the game. I'd say the controls hold up well, even if some things don't work most of the time. The graphics have an upgrade from the Dreamcast version, but personally, I would prefer how it looks on the Dreamcast, and I kinda wish there was an option to play the game with said graphics. Or at least a Steam mod, even. The story is okay, but to be fair, the main selling point to me isn't so much the story, but the fact that you feel like you're exploring a world and playing as Sonic, Tails, Knuckles, and their other friends. Except for Big. He just sucks. Basically, don't go into this expecting perfection. It's worth your time just to see why this, as well as the adventure-style gameplay, is looked back on so fondly. So, I know Sonic Month isn't actually a thing, even though I did a Sonic video in August, funnily enough, but there is going to be another kinda Sonic game I'm looking at next. I'm gonna do my best to at least get the videos, multiple videos, the next 2 videos out before September, because I got some stuff planned for that month specifically. Either way, just trust me that the next game is not a Sonic game, but you'll see why I'm looking at it next anyway.